What up, guys? So the other day I was talking to one of my students who has this misconception about discipline that I think a lot of people have. I've seen a lot of people struggle with this. By the way, in case you're curious, this is the back of my property. I didn't want to be inside doing videos today because it's a beautiful, unusually nice and warm middle of October. So I wanted to enjoy this because I know we only have a few of those left. But here's what happened. So the other day I'm talking to my student and he came into the week full of energy and excitement because he had laid out this plan. He's on this new diet, everything's laid out, and he's ready to get in and get after it, right? Ready to make some changes. And then life happened, as it often does, right? And so then he's looking at his plan and it's all falling apart and he's not able to make it happen. And I remember talking to him the other day and he's like, Chewy, I just feel so undisciplined. You know, I wasn't able to stick to my plan. And he's talking to me like, hey, Chewy, like, how are you so disciplined? How do you stick to your plans? And I shared something with them that I've shared multiple times with people, and I think it's useful because most people have this belief that being disciplined is this sort of rigid adherence to like a plan or this thing and making it happen exactly as you wanted to. But that's not how I see discipline. Now, you could disagree with me, of course, but to me, discipline's about flexibility. Because as life happens, your plans go to hell, don't they? I think there was a famous philosopher who said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. Not sure if that's Plato or Mike Tyson. But, you know, you do things, you make plans, whatever this is. Maybe that's training, maybe it's your diet, maybe it's something with your business, maybe it's something with your family, whatever. You make plans. And life happens and life punches you in the face. And what happens, just what I've seen, right, and what I've experienced in the past when I viewed things a little differently, is when the plan goes to shit, people just throw their hands up and go, I'm so undisciplined, it's all falling apart, why even do this, right? But it's at that moment, that's the moment when you show your discipline. When things go to hell, what do? Do you fold? Or do you remain flexible and figure out a way to make it happen? Think about like a jiu-jitsu competition or an MMA fight, right? You go into that contest and maybe you have a game plan. Maybe you have, I'm gonna shoot for this takedown or I'm gonna set this guy up with that, whatever it is. And then, as many of us have experienced, what happens? Your opponent does something you didn't plan for, right? Things happen, your plan went to hell. What do? Well, in a competition setting, you remain flexible. You say, okay, this didn't work out, but I've got to figure out how to solve this problem that I'm faced with. This person's doing this and I got to do this. This weekend was a great example of this, right? This weekend, I had this big coaching workshop set up for my gym. That we had like this fundamentals class coming in to have the coaches work on it. I'm also in a weight cut right now because I'm losing weight for some competitions. And so I've got this stuff going on. And I had my little plan set out for the week. Here's what I'm going to be doing on these days. And then my son developed this really gnarly infection on his bottom that progressively got worse until on Friday, all of a sudden he's wailing in pain. So we go to the ER. We're like, let's get this checked out. They check it out. They send us back home with some medicine. Medicine's not really helping. On Sunday, we go back to the ER and we're in there longer. Then they're like, well, we need to operate on this thing and we'll have to bring him back in tomorrow. So then on Monday, we go to the OR and get it taken care of. Now, by the way, he's fine. He's super healthy. It was just a very small thing, but everything's good now. But that threw a wrench in everything that I had planned for that weekend. And, the food had been ordered, all the messages had been sent, people were coming. And so there were some different things that I had to work on really late in the evening on Friday to make sure everything was ready. I had to get my workouts in early. And then when I'm at the hospital on these different days, I'm on my weight cut. I'm not going to gorge and eat whatever the hell I want to because I've got to maintain this diet. So I'm having to crunch macros in the OR and the hospital to make sure that I'm where I need to be. And bring some snacks with me. And again, this isn't to say that this was that big of a deal. It wasn't that big of a deal, right? I just share this with you because I'm sure a lot of parents relate to that, right? But I share this with you because this happens all the time. And again, you can't lose heart at the first moment that something just doesn't happen the way you want to, right? At least, again, that's just been my experience. And so I share that with you guys, right? If you're got your plan set up and you've got your little thing set up in whatever realm of your life that you're getting ready to do it in, right? Expect it to go wrong. Expect it to just go to hell. Expect it to just, things are going to happen. That's the way that it always works, right? And then think about it this way, that is the time where you actually show your discipline. if this happens, what can you do to work around that? What can you do to stay on your diet? What can you do to get your training in? What can you do to be there for your family or your business, whatever it is, right? So anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. I think the video's long enough. I just wanted to share that with you guys because I've met so many of my students over the years who get really attached to this is how this thing is supposed to work with training. And then when it falls apart, they lose heart. They maybe go one day off their diet and all of a sudden they just throw their hands up. I don't need to do this anymore. Or maybe something happened in the middle of the week. I'm just going to skip the rest of the week or whatever. Find a way to make it happen. Remain flexible. To me, that's what discipline's about. Discipline is the flexibility to make it happen even when things don't happen the way you want to or they get a little messy. So just an idea to chew on. I'll talk to you guys next time.